Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Patrick, and today I will be going over Chapter 11 in our textbook, which covers product concepts, branding, and packaging. Today, I'll be going over products, to include classifying products, the product lifecycle, the product adoption process, and adopter categories. Then I will move on to branding, which will include the value of branding, brand equity, and brand loyalty, types of brands, and branding strategies. I will then talk a little about packaging and labeling. Then I will finish by presenting some questions to think over and summarizing the whole presentation. We will start with products. Products are essentially the basis of any business. David Sorokin defines products as simply things companies sell to make money. Products can be classified into three different categories or types. The first is a good, which is a tangible object. An example of this would be a computer. Another type of product is a service, which is an intangible result of a human or mechanical effort. An example of this would be a haircut. The last type of product is an idea, which is a concept, philosophy, or image, which is like a patent. Consumers purchase products in order to receive the benefits they gain from using or having those products. There are two primary categories that products can be broken down into, which are consumer products and business products. They can be broken down more specifically based off their particular use or purpose. Consumer products are products bought by a person in order to fulfill a personal need, and business products are items purchased by a company or business used in order for that business to operate and meet its particular goals. Consumer products can be broken down into four categories. The first is convenience products. These are frequently purchased and used items that a consumer buys regularly and does little to no research about before buying. An example of this would be toothpaste. The second type is shopping products. These are less frequently purchased items that a consumer purchases and will probably require a little bit of research on the consumer's part in order to find their perfect option. These types of products tend to have available substitute options that a buyer can look at. An example of a shopping product would be a nice new camera. Specialty products are products that have unique characteristics that a particular consumer wants. These types of products usually involve extensive research and are higher end items. An example of this would be when a consumer wants to buy a new car. The last type of consumer product is unsought products. These are products the consumer needs as a result of a sudden problem or issue. A prime example of this would be when a car breaks down and a person is in need of a tow truck. Business products can also be broken down into different categories. Installations are buildings, facilities, and other physical property the company uses to house or hold its operations, like a warehouse. Accessory equipment is equipment that is used to make the company's final product, but does not become part of the final product. An example would be a heat press that is used to make t-shirts. Raw materials is the basic natural materials that become part of a company's final product. An example of this would be rubber that is used to make tires. Component parts are essentially finished physical products that are used to create the ultimate final product for a company. A rear view mirror for a car is considered its own standalone item. However, it is also a part that is needed in order to complete a car. Process materials are used in the direct production of other products but are not necessarily readily identifiable. They are usually human-created products refined from natural resources to create a complete different substance. MRO supplies are maintenance and repair items that are needed to maintain operation equipment in order to produce the final product. An example of this would be tools needed to repair machines that are part of an assembly line. Business services are intangible products that an organization uses during their operations to produce and sell their products. An example would be auditing services provided to the company in order to properly maintain operations. A product has a life cycle that is not too different from that of a person as it progresses from birth to death. A product's life cycle has four major phases: introduction, growth, maturity, and ultimately decline. In the introduction phase, a product is brand new to the market. At this point, the product has zero sales and a negative profit because a company must first invest in marketing and the production of the product. At this point, sales can be slow because consumers might be hesitant to jump at the new product. In the growth phase, sales increase and then reaches a peak. Then it will start to level off and possibly start declining a little. At this point, the company and marketers will try to get customers to commit to their product and possibly try and build some brand loyalty towards their product to keep the item profitable and wanted for as long as possible. Next comes the maturity phase. During this phase, sales have already peaked and are starting to decline regularly. At this point, consumers are wanting to see upgrades and might start looking for improved items in that particular market. Finally comes the decline phase. At this point, sales fall rapidly and the product has become essentially non-profitable. So, the company must look into phasing the product out or replacing it. Whenever a new product comes into the market, consumers are not always quick to jump at it right away. Some consumers will take their time and fully evaluate a product before they decide to buy that particular product. The process a consumer goes through in order to decide to finally purchase a product is called the production adoption process. The first step of the production adoption process is awareness. This is simply when a buyer becomes aware of a product in the market. Next comes the interest step. During this step, the buyer will seek out information concerning the product. After that comes evaluation. At this point, the buyer will take the information he or she has gathered in order to decide if the product is worth it to buy or whether they should look at some of its competitors for more options. At the trial stage, the buyer decides to give the product a serious try by examining or testing the product. Finally comes the adoption stage. At this point, the buyer purchases the product and is expected to use it whenever it is needed. Not all customers go through the production and adoption process at the same pace. Some take longer to decide on a product, and then there are some people that never even end up getting the product. Generally speaking, when customers do purchase a product, those customers can be put into one of five categories as it relates to adopting a new product. The first category is considered innovators. These are the first people to purchase a new product. They usually enjoy having the newest products and do not mind taking the risks that come with the new products that might not be fully tested in the market. The next category is early adopters. This group usually researches new products before buying them and are considered the people to check with by later groups because people in this group are said to choose products wisely. The early majority are the group of people that buy a new product just before the average person. These people are usually pretty cautious when it comes to buying new products. The late majority are skeptical of new products, but will eventually purchase the new product at some point out of necessity or peer pressure. Laggards are the last people to adopt a new product. These people tend to distrust new products, and sometimes whenever they finally do adopt the product, it will have been replaced with an even newer item. Branding plays a huge factor in whether or not a company or product will be a success or a failure. A brand also helps a company or product distinguish itself from the others in the market. Branding could easily be considered one of the most important aspects of marketing. Elizabeth Smithson defines branding as a marketing practice in which a company creates a name, symbol, or design that is easily identifiable as belonging to the company. Additionally, in her 2015 article, What is Branding and Why is it Important for Your Business?, she goes on to explain how branding plays a big part in helping a business in several aspects. Branding can have value for both buyers and sellers. The value of branding for the buyer is that it helps them identify specific products that meet their wants or standards. Otherwise, their purchasing could just be random. Additionally, branding can help consumers highlight their lifestyle by purchasing certain brands. It also helps buyers have a guide for quality if they are not sure how to judge it for themselves. By purchasing name brands, consumers can be more confident about what they are buying is going to be a good product and reduces the risks in their mind. Lastly, consumers might receive psychological reward by purchasing and using high-end products. The value branding has for sellers is that a brand helps identify products, which can lead to repeat purchasers. A good brand can also help a company introduce new products, as well as help promote similarly branded products for the company. Plus, a good brand reputation with successful products can help lead to consumers having a brand loyalty. Lastly, the higher value a brand has, the higher the overall organization's value will be. Brand equity and brand loyalty are two aspects that play a big role in the branding and marketing of products. Brand equity refers to a company's ability to gain profits from a product being associated with a recognizable name compared to one that is sold under a generic company or name. Adam Hayes sums it up best when he says, "When a company has positive brand equity, customers are willing to pay a higher price for its products, even though they could get the same product from a competitor for less." By having good brand equity, a brand has a better chance of selling a product under its good name than someone trying to sell the product under a generic name for less. Brand loyalty relates to a customer's favorable attitude towards a certain brand. Usually, a customer that has brand loyalty will make repeat purchases to that brand and will essentially ignore any of that brand's competitors, even if the cost might be a little higher for them to stick with their favorite company. Brands can be classified into three different types: manufacturer brands, private distributor brands, and generic brands. Manufacturer brands are initiated by the producer, and the producer is associated with the product and identified with the product at the point of purchase by a consumer. Private distributor brands are initiated and owned by the reseller or retailer. These brands have also been known to be called store brands. Generic brands are brands that only indicate the item's product category. Branding strategies play a big part in marketing for a company for its products. Individual branding is the process of a company giving each of its products its own name. The Nestle company uses this process by giving all of their products their own personal name. Family branding process is when a company gives its products the same name or part of the same name. Kellogg's does this with its cereals. For example, they have Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, Kellogg's Rice Krispies, and so on. Brand extensions is when an existing brand is used to try and brand a new product in a completely different product category. This can be a tricky strategy at times. It is best for a company to try and stick with a product category that is close to its initial product. For instance, Colgate, the toothpaste company, made a good endeavor into the toothbrush market because toothbrushes and toothpaste are closely related items. However, Zippo failed when they tried to use their Zippo brand to get into the perfume market. Co-branding is a process of two brands working together on one product. This can be beneficial because it can help a brand get into a market that it might not make a lot of sense to venture into. By aligning with a brand in that market that has a good reputation, they can obtain more trust from consumers in that market than if they tried to do it on their own. Packaging and labeling can seem like a fairly small and unimportant aspect of a business operation. However, it can be another prime opportunity for a business to market its products. There are four main functions of packaging. The first is a simple and obvious fact that it helps protect the product from being damaged. The next function is that packaging can provide convenience for the customer in the form of individual serving sizes or bulk items. The package can be tailored to the need of that customer. So if they only need a single serving of a product, they can buy just what they need instead of having to buy a big pack of a product and end up wasting most of it. Whereas a consumer that uses a lot of an item can buy a bigger bulk package to save him or her from having to make multiple orders. And it could also save them some money by buying bulk. Packaging can also be used to help promote products by communicating its features, uses, benefits, or images. Lastly, packaging can evoke an emotional response, like excitement from a customer if the packaging is more than just a simple brown box. Labeling is closely related to packaging and is usually used for identification, promotional, informational, and legal purposes. Federal law requires certain labeling to be on packaging of certain products. For instance, whenever an item might have a component that could be considered hazardous or flammable. Now here are a couple questions to think about when it comes to classifying products and brand loyalty. The first question is, when it comes to consumer products, do you think a product could be classified in more than one of the categories of convenience, shopping, specialty, and unsought products? Why or why not? And if so, what are some examples of items that could be classified as more than one? The second question is, if you consider yourself brand loyal to a particular brand for a particular product, and for some reason you were forced to have to use a generic brand of that product, and it worked just as well, would you consider sticking with the generic brand in the future, or would you continue to use the brand that you liked originally? Why or why not? In conclusion, today we discussed products, including how a product can be a good, service, or idea. We talk about how a product's life cycle is similar to that of a person's, and how consumers are not always quick to jump at purchasing a new product. So they use the production adoption process, and how based on how fast or slow they get through that process, what category of adopter they might be considered. We also discussed how branding is one of the most important parts of marketing, and how branding can provide value to both buyers and sellers. We talked about how brand equity and brand loyalty can play a big part in the continuing success of a company or product. We then went into the different types of branding strategies. Next, we talked about packaging and labeling for products and how it can be more important than you might think. And lastly, we discussed some questions concerning types of products and brand loyalty in order to get everybody thinking. This concludes the presentation. I would like to thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. These are the materials I used to help make this presentation.